What's up, Planeswalkers? It's your boy K-Dog. Today we're going to be looking at Standard and specifically 2021 Standard. So zombies, of course, is a thing we do around here. And decided to revisit the mono black list I made earlier and turn it into a Golgari list. Obviously, we've seen some Golgari Death Touch lists been floating around 21 Standard. But, zombies. We got Foulmire Knight and the Mire Triton with have Death Touch. And I'm also running Chevill just to kind of flesh out the 2-drop slot, which is a little bit lacking for zombies. But we have Liliana's Steward, which is a card I've been reasonably pleased by. I won't quite say impressed, but I feel like it's been pretty solid. It's a 1/2 for 1. We can tap it, sacrifice it, make your opponent discard a card. They get to choose a card, so it's not like targeted removal like a Duress or something like that. But they still have to get rid of a card, which can be certainly helpful in a lot of matchups. You can only use a Sorcerer's Speed, which is typical for this ability, but I thought it was just a 1/2 body for 1 mana, and it's a zombie that can obviously grow bigger with our Anthem effect and things like that. It's pretty reasonable, and there's obviously some other things that we might want to fill up our graveyard with, and sacrificing it isn't the worst. Of course, Foulmire Knight lets us draw a card in the late game for 3 mana. Instant speed is pretty cool. Chevill, of course, is a 1/3 Death Toucher that puts bounty counters on our opponent's creatures or planeswalkers, and whenever those permanents die, we get to draw a card and gain 3 life. Second's certainly pretty powerful. Devotee, Liliana's Devotee, is our Anthem effect here. Obviously, in Standard, we don't have a Lordly Curse, we don't have Death Baron, but it is a 2/3 for 3 mana that gives our zombies +1/+0. Is the kind of the next best thing. It's obviously the lesser of those Anthem effects since it doesn't boost up the toughness, but if you're trying to be this kind of aggro style list, then obviously at least getting the power boost is certainly relevant. And if any creature died, we can pay 2 mana and make a 2/2 zombie token. And unlike a lot of these effects, this actually just comes in as a just straight up token. It doesn't come in tapped like you see with some of the other effects similar to this. So that's pretty cool. Standard Bearer is another form of card draw. It's a 3/1. We can flash this in, Zombie Knight. And we draw X card, where X is the number of creatures that died under your control this turn. So just 2 copies here. It's a little bit cheeky. The 1 toughness is not really great, but 3 power you can flash in and maybe draw a couple cards off it. Definitely makes it worth running a couple copies, I think. Murderous Rider, all 4 of for the removal. Very powerful to have this effect on a zombie as well. We also have 1 copy of Liliana and 1 Garruk as our Planeswalker value package. Obviously, we're pretty aggro style list, so we're going to be dumping our hand pretty easily, so we're not too worried about the +1, discarding a card. And if we do, we have something that's going to get some value off of that. Then you're going to punish your opponent, so once they're empty-handed, then they lose 3 life. And, we have a little bit of ways to flip our graveyard with like Mire Triton and things like that, and we can use that to our advantage with our -3 as removal for -X on a creature or based on the number of cards in your graveyard. It doesn't matter what type they are, lands, creatures, whatever. So yeah, it's pretty nice removal. Then, of course, Garruk is another way to kind of make our creatures actually a little bit bigger. It gives one of our creatures a +3/+3 and trample boost. And Polukranos here is our final card. It's a zombie Hydra, so don't forget that Polukranos is a zombie, 4 mana. Comes down with 6 +1/+1 counters on it. It escapes with 12 +1 counters on it. So that's pretty sweet. So yeah, that's a way to get some value off our graveyard with exiling 6 other cards and paying 6 mana. So it's a nice way to kind of get around removal heavy decks that just have it keep coming back again and again, and you can have it fight other creatures. So if you're up against another creature deck that maybe doesn't have a ton of removal, that's not filling up your graveyard for the escape, or you can just fight your opponent's creatures and things like that. And for our interaction here, we have 3 Eliminates and 1 Heartless Act. Obviously, Heartless Act doesn't really work well with Chevill, but there are certain things you need to kill, like Questing Beasts and things like that, Elder Gargaroths. So you need ways of interacting with some of those bigger creatures that Eliminate does not handle. So even though Heartless Act obviously doesn't work with Chevill, because the Chevill is going to put a bounty counter on it, and that sort of thing. We are just running 2 Chevills, so we're not too worried about it, but it could be awkward, so I don't want to run too many Heartless Acts. And then we have other ways of kind of dealing with it with like Liliana and Murderous Rider for some of the bigger creatures. So having 3 Eliminates feels pretty good. I'll spend it Planeswalkers. And then obviously Return to Nature. All 3 modes are certainly relevant. Artifacts. Talking about Lucky Clover with the Adventure deck is super impactful. You can get rid of that, and you make it at least a fair matchup. Obviously, it's still tons of value being able to have a spell on one side and a creature on one side that only takes up a single slot in your deck. That just gives them lots and lots of value. But then when you double that with Lucky Clover, that's just pretty insane. So you have to have an answer for that because Clover decks are all over 2021 standard, and we'll probably see quite a bit of play in the opening week or so, I would imagine, as people are kind of building up their collection of a Zendikar and learning to craft what decks and enchantments as well can sometimes be relevant. Could be up against a shrine deck or just enchantment removal, things like that. And also, the exile cards from your graveyard, Uro obviously is still super powerful and popular card to play against. And so this kind of return nature just kind of answers all three of those. But there are decks that don't necessarily matter too much for any of these. So don't really necessarily want all four of them, but I feel like you just have to have three just because those aforementioned things are just super prevalent in the meta. So you're running 24 lands because we want to curve out into our 3 and 4 drops. So a couple Castle Locthwains for some card draw, pretty important. 8 Swamp, 4 4s. Mana base is a little bit clunky here because we don't have like the really good lands. So we're running 2 Jungle Hollows, 4 Temple of Malady, and 4 Fabled Passage. So then sometimes the mana base is going to kind of bite you a little bit, especially when you're trying to run an aggro style list. But overall, I haven't had too many problems with it. So feels pretty good with the fixing. And of course, the Scry is pretty nice to do. So that's the deck. We'll jump into some matches. Alright, up against Green Wizard. You're Ryan? Sure. The Fairy Sleeve, so we're going to get owned. Hate bottoming that, but we need lands, so we will bottom it. This is the Doom Foretold Urian build. And we're just going to have all of our stuff bounced and exiled. Forest, that's interesting. It's going to be a Banta control. Yep, this will be fun. It is a land, so we will take it. We can flash in the Standard Bearer after they shatter our sky. Assuming they do nothing here, just hold open Shatter for next turn. Arrow, yeah, same thing. Arrow are certainly beatable, but just insane how much value it provides. Just absolutely insane. Look at all the other 3 drops that we've seen in recent years, and just look at how much Uro does. Alright, so they're going to shatter our sky, we'll draw 2, and I'll have a 3-1 on board. Nope, Aegis Insight. Alright. Usually these Orion decks always have Shadow the Sky on curve, so I'm not sure what our opponent's doing wrong here. I mean, we need to do something here. We can't just hold open Standard Bearer the entire game. I mean, we're representing lethal on board, so we'll just hold back. See what our opponent does. Make them make them deal with our board first. We'll fill up our graveyard for the Polukranos. Let's have exile removal, like a Banishing Light or whatever. Woman of the Sea, 3 mana open still. It's totally possible to just have another Uro go up to 9. Let's see, 4, 5, 6, but we're representing exactly 9 damage, so Uro won't be enough. And I believe they've already played a land for turns, so they cannot board wipe us. So I'm not sure what they could do. Even if it's a creature, we just Murderous Rider it. So I feel like we might have this. Yep. Alright, so we got there. Wow. Alright, we're going to VKNX. It's not ideal, but you know, we have our double black, so when we draw a Murderous Rider or whatever, we're good to go. Wish this Forest was another spell. of any type, but we have a 2-drop and a 3-drop, so yeah, we'll keep it. The Temple lets us scry so we can kind of find some removal. Evolving Wilds. Alright, the budget Fabled Passage in Platinum rank. Gotta love that. Swamp. Return to Nature. Is this a Clover deck? If it's a Swamp, maybe not. It could be Golgari Adventures or something, or Sultai. Oh, your life gain. Certainly popular. Enchantment. Obviously, we'd love to get some creatures online, but let's deal with that so they don't just get free 2/2s every turn. Veto. Let's play you and the Foulmire Knight. We have enough cards in hand, we don't necessarily need to hold up for card draw. And this way we can Devotee next turn and have a little bigger board presence. We're at 22, so we're not too worried about veto, but obviously it can get pretty nasty. Yep. Obviously these Orzhov life gain decks continue to be popular, thanks to cards like Veto. Well, we got Death Touch, and we're going to give him an Anthem effect, so we're going to swing in. Here you go, opponent. And they're representing one point of lifelink. So they could just take it and let the life gain recover. Okay, so they have another veto in hand, so they throw one veto away to get rid of one of our creatures. So of course the Devotee not being a zombie means they don't really work in tandem. Oh, you're doing it, opponent. You're comboing off. Alright, we'll play other Devotee and we will swing. Okay, they don't trade, so we don't get the activation on the Devotee, so we'll go and drop the Mire Triton. Next turn we have Garruk. And we'll see what else we draw. I suppose 1-drop plus the Garruk won't be terrible here next turn. We're up to 22 against the Veto deck, so that's fine. You're going to Faith Fetters a Mire Triton. I mean, it's the biggest power on board, so I guess. Well, that life gain is pretty annoying. So let's get rid of Veto. That's kind of their engine. You can't really do too much without it. And we got 2 mana open because any creature died. The nice thing about the Devotee is it does not care whose creature. Just like that, we got a 4/2 zombie token online. Opponent down to 12. We're at 11. All those veto triggers. Just like these life gain decks, they just have so much passive value. It just like it doesn't really feel like they earn it. Gaining life with Charming Prince. Okay. Charming Prince is humans, so they don't lose any life. They do ping us there. They could kill a Devotee, but I guess that's fine. If you want to double block it. Oh, they're just going to split it up. Alright, we'll play the Murderous Rider and the Mire Triton, and hopefully this Garruk can kind of come down and throw off their math if that's what they're expecting. Could have also just held open mana to make a zombie token, but I think Mire Triton's fine just to stabilize us a little bit more. Tavern Swindler. It's a cute card. Alright, we can escape Polukranos here if we want. We haven't seen too much removal for them, just the 1 Faith's Fetters, so I think I'm actually going to Garruk. We'll plus on the Murderous Rider, and we'll attack with those 2. So we're going to gain 7 life here. Our Garruk feels relatively safe. Okay, they're going to trade off with their speaker, prevent 4, kill our creature. Alright, well, pay, make a zombie. So we're pushing our opponent, we're gaining some life back. Yeah, without veto, I mean, these decks don't really do a whole lot. Also, that Griffin Airy would have given them a ton of value to all these free 2/2s, so we were pretty fortunate to find that Return to Nature when we did, otherwise this game would have gone obviously a lot differently. They'd have all these 2/2 flyers for free every turn, which will be difficult to attack through with our low toughness. Take 7, you're at 12. You could. One card in hand. I'm going to play it safe and just play the Steward. If they wipe our board, we want to make sure we have a Polukranos to follow it up with, otherwise we're a little bit in rough shape. Okay, they play another veto. I'm a little bit stuck on lands, but I mean, they've been able to play everything. Taverns when they're down to 2. Okay. Life gain. Suck it. Sweet. Alright, up against Dark Sun. Fabled Passage for a forest, and then we have a Chevill, Triton, and a Standard Bearer along with an Eliminate. Feels pretty solid. Probably try to lead with Chevill and hope it, our opponent doesn't have removal. It's like the Gruul aggro maybe. So this could be pretty decent matchup. We'll start with Chevill, and if they play a creature, then we can always eliminate it. Probably hold open the Standard Bearer and probably Triton plus play a Foulmire. We'll see what our opponent does though. If it is just Gruul aggro, then we probably just want to go wide. And these Deathless creatures are going to make it very difficult for them. No, some kind of a ramp list. So that's a little bit more disconcerting. In that case, we'll not play any more creatures. If they just Storm's Wrath us here, we don't want to lose, have half of our hand just be dead in the water. Scorching Dragonfire, you got it. So just Gruul control, maybe it's a third color they're missing. They're trying to ramp into big red stuff, like Chandras and things like that. You're not going to do anything, you just pass the turn. You don't need to just hold priority for no reason while you think about it. There we go. There's a land. It's a tap land. I'll go ahead and tap out here for the Triton plus Foulmire. If they have a sweeper, so be it. We have a Polukranos. We'll keep that. If they're going to be the slow controlling style list, let's get some discard. Actually, we're going to be milling it anyway, so that was a miss sequence. Usually I'm pretty good about that, but Bone Crusher Giant. I always love when they do Ike immediately. Like, you don't even let the spell resolve. You're just like, I'm just going to kill that anyway. I just cannot wait to fire off that Bone Crusher Giant. And make Garruk just make a beast. You know what you're going to be doing there. Not sure why you had to think about it. I guess we probably just want to Murderous Rider that. And pass the turn. If they attack, we'll block. Got Death Touch, you can get rid of that. And manually tapping. Carry out to. Okay, so they have a Scorching Dragonfire or something here probably. You're gonna do this in response to blocks? Nope. That's Polukranos. See how they handle a 6/6. questing beats me. Manually tapping all your mana. Rampart Smasher. Okay. I guess that's a thing. And then you go search for a land with a Beanstalk Giant. So just some gruel. Random pile of cards. Sure. You got it, opponent. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so that Beanstalk Giant next turn, can't do anything about that. Unfortunately, cannot do anything about that. So we just play the Steward and the Murderous Rider. So it can't be blocked by knights or walls, so our Murderous Rider cannot block it. It is a zombie knight. Polukranos can though. It'll go down to a 1/1 though. Beanstalk Giant, sure. We have a Heartless Act for that. Use their food token to play another Caryatid. No attacks. We get a land here. Do we want more lands? I think we'll just hold open removal. We have Heartless Act plus Eliminate. Opponent does not have anything in hand, so we just pass. So we're gonna have to find all the removal to deal with these creatures, and then start pushing through for damage. Fabled Passage. Okay, so down comes Bone Crusher Giant, which we're not too worried about. We can eliminate that at least. Not too worried about the Caryatid or Goose at this stage of the game. They already have all the manas in the world. And they can make food tokens turn after turn, which is pretty annoying. So maybe we want to eliminate that. But the Bone Crusher as a 4/3 is probably a little bit bigger threat. Opponent playing extra conservative here. Well, let's kill the Beanstalk. We need to deal with that at some point. We don't have any better ways of that. So let's kill it. And probably want to get the Goose offline. I'm not sure we're going to have better targets. Obviously the Bone Crusher is pretty annoying, but if they're just going to be making food tokens and getting life turn after turn, especially if we're kind of stuck, because we can't really attack, they don't have great attacks either, then I definitely would much rather deal with that late game value of the food tokens. They can just make those, especially with all that open mana. We'll just pass. So we have mana open to fight something with Polukranos or to just play a standard bearer. Yep, they sack food token, gain life. If they do that every turn, that would be pretty difficult to come back from, especially with this kind of board stall we're in right now. Opponent is getting aggressive. So they probably have an Ember Cleave or something. Block. So we can fight whatever they try to cleave. Infuriate. Nope. So we keep our Polukranos alive and kill their thing and kill their Druid. Do not have mana open to do much else. Yeah, block my Polukranos, please. No? Oh, blocking the Druid. Don't care about those. We'll get rid of the 2/2 token. Goes to the bottom, and we'll flash in Standard Bearer just so we can draw a card. 4 mana open to, maybe? Murderous Rider. Definitely want to save that for their next Beanstalk Giant or other bigger threat. I like that. Alright, so we've been able to kind of turn this around. So our opponent hasn't offered to trade off with Polukranos yet, so maybe we just fight. Yeah, let's attack. Fortunately, the standard bearer just has a 1 toughness, but Devotee doesn't really do much to help us out in that regard. So if they want to kill it, help us fill up our graveyard. So be it. We can also fight in response to their blocks. So let's kind of force them to make some moves here. You can double block the Steward. Alright, we'll kill both your Caryatids. Polukranos goes down, we'll escape it next turn. And I think we just go with the Murderous Rider. And Devotee can be a follow-up once we get our zombies online to kind of go wide. One card in hand. Are they baiting us? We know they have some removal, but not sure I'm too worried about it. So I'm just going to go ahead and swing, rather than try to just sack our Steward. And again, we'll just hold up in the Murderous Rider. So if it's just an Infuriator or something like that, Hex through from black. Okay, that's unfortunate. But they concede. Okay. So yeah, that was a pretty nice comeback. The Death Touch plus the removal Heartless Act was super clutch in that situation. That's why it's there. Obviously don't love it with Chevill, can be awkward, but definitely feel like it's worth having that 1 copy, and that is exactly the reason why. Sanctum. No thanks. Alright. So 21 zombies because it's standard 2021. Alright, so yeah, this list has felt pretty reasonable for me. Obviously it's not the best deck, but it's not the worst deck either. Obviously it got me out of gold into platinum for whatever that's worth. I do like the one of Liliana and the one of Garruk. It feels pretty decent. The Polukranos as a 3 of, so pretty solid. And definitely wonder about playing too many of these, but it's pretty important. It's been pretty important in the matchups. So I definitely like having 3 of. 4 is probably too much. Being legendary, they don't really stack, work well together. Like a Euro, you can just keep playing Euro turn after turn. It doesn't really matter because you're still getting value. Obviously, like Polukranos isn't really the same thing. You can exile another Polukranos just to maybe get some escape value, but that doesn't really seem worth it. So, but 3 still feels pretty solid. And then Garruk and 1 Liliana, they each have their utility in certain matchups. The Devotee, definitely a nice way to kind of pump up the team and kind of be aggressive, just enough removal. And of course the Death Touch with Chevill, the Foulmire Knight, and the Mire Triton. Makes it difficult for like rule matchups or any of bigger creatures to try to attack into you. You don't necessarily mind when your creatures die. You know, Liliana can get them back. You know, we can flash in a standard bearer to draw some cards from our creatures dying. You know, we fill up our graveyard to escape Polukranos in the late game. So there's plenty of utility. It definitely has some nice synergies here with the zombies, which seem like they're kind of slept on. Everyone kind of looks at, you know, historic zombies, and for obvious reasons, there's so many good zombies. And different ways you can go about playing zombies in historic, but you know, standard. I think standard still has a place for zombies. Obviously, still needs a little bit of support. The 2-drop slot is pretty lackluster, and the Devotee obviously is no Lord of the Curse, and it's no Death Baron. But making 2/2 zombies when any creature dies is still pretty reasonable, though. So that's something that they don't necessarily have going for them. So kind of helps you go wide, which is nice. But yeah, and then black or Golgari colors, you still have some good removal. And obviously Return to Nature is unfortunately a must main deck. Otherwise I'd love to just run like more Eliminates or something like that. Or just more other kind of utility spells, maybe some more Planeswalkers here at our top end. But you just have to have ways of dealing with like your opponent's Lucky Clovers and things like that. Didn't run up against any adventure decks for some reason, even though I know they're super popular. I'm not complaining about that. Definitely not. But yeah, even like the life gain list was running like the Griffin Airy. And undoubtedly they were running like some Banishing Lights and things like that. So obviously Orzhov, life gain is still a thing with Veto. Definitely faced off against several of those style lists. And yeah, just taking advantage of the good removal with Eliminates and Heartless Acts. And all of the Murderous Riders. Murderous Rider is super important. And being a zombie is fantastic. And then, yeah, obviously that synergy with Garruk giving it +3 to gain a bunch of life back into the Veto matchup was super clutch. Even the Devotee giving it the +1 bonus and making it a 3/3 life linker is pretty fantastic as well. But yeah, just lots of nice little synergies that maybe don't necessarily look like they're super fantastic on their own, but when you add them all up, seems like it works out pretty well. So Zombie Tribal, In Standard, don't sleep on it. It's still a pretty solid deck. So if this is your thing, then yeah, definitely would recommend giving it a try. Definitely can hold its own in Standard 2021 ranked. So thanks for watching, guys. Until next time, make sure you jank with